You have a new partner. That's awesome. What's next? How do we make sure that the partnership and the relationship continues forward in a positive, constructive way? How do we set this partner up for success and at the same time make sure that our time is spent as efficiently as possible so that we can bring on more partners and drive more revenue? That's what we're covering in today's episode of Partnership Unpacked. This is Partnership Unpacked, your go-to guide to growing your business through partnerships quickly. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode unpacks the winning strategies and latest trends from influencer marketing to brand partnerships and ideas that you can apply to your own business to grow exponentially. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Partnership Unpacked, where I selfishly use this time every time to pick the brains of experts at strategic partnerships, channel programs, affiliates, influencer marketing, and relationship building. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to learn how you can amplify your growth strategy with a solid takeaway every episode from partnership experts in the industry. And today is going to be fun because we're talking about a topic that's of keen interest to me personally: how to scale a robust partner program and create a predictable revenue engine driven by partners. Maybe that sounds good to you, but maybe, like me, you've struggled to build a sustainable program. Maybe you've had a few too many instances where you brought on a new partner, but nothing ever materialized. Or maybe you know that many of your prospects are already working with your partners, but you haven't been able to successfully bring them into your sales process yet. That's what our guest today, Rob Reholtz, is here to talk to us about. He's founded a SaaS company, Superglue, that's devoted to helping CMOs and partnership leaders scale their partner-led revenue. But before that, Rob was in the trenches, building another SaaS business where he learned the ins and outs of strategic partnerships. At that business, over 70% of the revenue was partner-driven. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the intro.
Awesome. Well, how did you get started in this partnership industry? And of course, tell us about the project you're working on now and how that helps partners.
Yeah, I kind of I never thought about getting into partnerships. I built a company in the MarTech space, and we had customers ask us about integrations, and then we just kind of figured that this stuff makes sense. We started building integrations, then started to kind of organically talk to these companies that we integrated into, or whose tools we integrated into, and just at one point in time realized that that helps us drive significantly more revenue. Started leaning in. I made every mistake in the book over the next few years as I built the partner ecosystem for that company. But yeah, ultimately, now we drive 70% of revenue through partners. It's an 8-figure revenue business, and that led me to starting Superglue. I faced a lot of challenges in kind of scaling that ecosystem, kind of trying to figure out like who I need to engage with, how, and everybody I talk to was facing similar challenges, right? Every partnership team you talk to is hopelessly overloaded. Their peers, all of these amazing tools, marketing automation, sales people have sales engagement tools, and us partnership people were kind of left by ourselves, and just like with like spreadsheets and Salesforce, etc. And that's why we built Superglue, which is basically an AI assistant for partnership teams. So Superglue is a tool that basically alerts partnership teams or partner managers who to engage with, when, and how. So it's really straightforward.
All right. I love the sound of that. And it's 2023. So you said the magic word AI.
AI,
so
yeah.
Got AI in the tool, AI, it's there. Just run to it, buy it. It's got AI. So it's got to be
Perfect.
great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about partner onboarding, because as you know, this is a really critical step that all too often is overlooked. Start by saying why you think that is, and then what are the most important aspects of onboarding that new partners and businesses aren't doing today?
Yeah, I think it's a really good topic. So the funny thing is, when we started Superglue and we started thinking about use cases, we didn't really think that much about onboarding. Onboarding was always a bit of a side topic. And the more we work with companies, the more we realize that onboarding enablement are probably, that is one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest pain points, and one of the biggest kind of hurdles to scaling your ecosystem. What we've seen a lot is that people, they recruit partners, they just kind of they fill more partners into that leaky bucket, and because they don't have a proper onboarding processes, a lot of partners are never activated, never drive revenue, and that obviously has very significant long-term kind of downsides. So yeah, we spent a lot of time over the last year kind of figuring out what the proper onboarding process should look like. I personally think that a lot of onboarding processes are too reactive, right? Like you basically have a partner, you have a call with them, you send them a lot of information, give them access to a PRM, and you expect them to do everything by themselves and just, raise their hand whenever they're lost. And what I think is works a lot better if you're a lot more proactive. That's what we've seen, right? You basically proactively guide and push a partner through that onboarding process, which has like two benefits. First one, so obviously you get them to value faster, or you activate them faster, you get them to the point where they drive revenue faster. But the other thing is you benefit from that initial momentum, the excitement. Like that's what we see a lot. A partner, gets on the first call, they're excited, they want to do stuff. And you can leverage that to really gain speed. If you just like, you have that momentum, you just, send them all their stuff, they forget about you, and, you're lost. You start from scratch, you got to reactivate them. And that doesn't work.
Now, is this mostly just for affiliates, or is this any kind of partnership? Are there specific kinds of partnerships that maybe this helps more than others?
Yeah, so we're very focused on referral partners, so
Okay.
tech as well as agency partnerships. I think the same problem exists when it comes to affiliate partners. But when you look at affiliate partners, if you look at huge affiliate programs, to be quite frank, that's almost like a marketing automation play, right? If I have thousands of partners and I need to engage them, that's kind of like, I have great marketing automation tools for those. We're more focused on, like at Superglue, on the referral partnerships, bigger deals where there's more of a relationship side to the partnership.
Got
And
it.
by the way, that's one of the things that I think people underestimate, kind of the importance of relationships. Like that's also what I learned in my previous role, where we had this great relationship with Salesforce. Partnership team loved us, but that never got us into deals. Only when we started to truly like build real relationships with their AEs, etc., build trust with them, get them excited. That's when they started to really generate revenue for us, because these are the partner managers don't bring you into deals. They bring you into a meeting here and there, they share information, etc. But ultimately, the AEs, the CSMs on your partner side own the deals. And if they trust you, they don't care about the agreements in the background. They trust you if they feel that you add value for them and for their customers. They're the ones to bring you into deals.
Love it. So we're talking about building relationships
Mm-hmm.
with these potential partners. We're talking about treating them as revenue partners, not just affiliates that are kind of faceless, among a mass of numbers, right? So if we want to ramp that up, how do we automate and scale onboarding that achieves that kind of results?
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. When we started talking to partnership teams, kind of reminded me of how sales teams felt about sales enablement tools like 10 years ago, when like Outreach, SalesLoft, etc. started to become popular. And like salespeople back then are like, hey, you can't automate the sales process, you can't automate interactions, etc. And then over time they realize, hey, there are a lot of recurring activities that can actually be automated if you do it in a meaningful way. The same is true like for partnership teams. Like when you look at what a partner manager does every day, 30 to 60% of the stuff that they waste their time on is just, and it's not a waste of time, but it kind of is, because it's repetitive stuff, right? It's like checking in with somebody, sharing some information to enable somebody, just like all of these touch points that that are very recurring, right? Like AE number 72 is not gonna, you're not gonna have to engage with them differently. You probably have some type of blueprint, or if you don't, there are best practices that you can use to automate. I think you should automate the recurring interactions, right? Like the stuff that the touch points everybody goes through. So I think partner managers should be able to spend a lot more time on, like strategic projects, working with a partner to win like a really big deal, helping them co-sell, making intros, like all the stuff where you need one-to-one interactions that are non-repetitive, or it's more of like a project management kind of requirement versus just these standard interactions that waste your time.
But so when we're talking about partner enablement, I mean, that's just giving them a Google Drive folder for assets, right? I mean, what's the challenge there?
Exactly, or just a nice one pager.
What else do they need, right?
Exactly, that's good. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, and that's, to be quite frank, like that's very often how this works, right? Like you have these lunch and learn sessions, right? Like you present what your company does to like 10, 15 AEs. You give them access to a G Drive. You send them a very long email with a bunch of links, and then you forget about them. And half a year down the road, you wonder why they're not driving value. And I think that's a problem, right? Like what you need to do is you have that interaction, you share some information with them, and you nurture them. You stay in touch with them. You create touch points that feel meaningful to them. It's like a loyalty program in CRM, right? Like you create meaningful touch points where you stay top of mind, you keep them excited, you make sure that they understand what you do, because after that lunch and learn, they've already forgotten about you. So you step by step turn them from somebody who's heard from you to somebody who likes you, who trusts you. And then they bring you into deals, right? Like, and then this stuff starts happening, and obviously you win the first deal with them. They're going to talk about you, and all this good stuff starts happening. But it's a relationship, right? We always talk about these relationships, but then we don't build them. We don't, we send them to our PRM. We're like, hey, educate yourself, do this training. This is like, take care of yourself, rather than like creating a bit more of an engagement approach where we're proactive and where we meet them where they already live, right? Like in their, in the channels that they already work in. By the way, this doesn't mean that I don't think PRMs aren't important. Most of our customers have PRMs, and part of the challenge and part of the thing that we help them do is like we create touch points, and some of these touch points basically include a prompt that we tell them, hey, now you should go to the PRM. Now the PRM is going to add value in this and that way. And that really drives portal adoption.
I love that you stress the fact that first of all, it's a relationship. And I'm going to put a bunch of links in the show notes, because we've talked about relationships so much as the focus of entire episodes, because they're so important. I couldn't agree more. And I love that you pointed out that because it's a relationship, it needs to be nurtured over time. And I'm guilty of this like anybody else, sending that long ass email with everything that I need you to know in one message, when at a minimum I could break that up into 6 emails. And then weave in, like you said, some touch points, some ways to actually build relationship. Love what you're talking about. That makes so much sense. So we're talking with Rob about how to build up your partner program, how to use that channel for success. I want to share with you real quick a message from our CMO at Agorapulse about another channel that you might be overlooking.
It's the Arc de Triomphe. Can you imagine if you're in charge, if you're the CMO of marketing Paris? What are your main channels? Wow, there's the Arc de Triomphe. There's the Eiffel Tower. There's the Louvre. Those are your channels you're going to use to drive tourism dollars in. Okay, now, but you're not the CMO of Paris. In fact, you're the CMO of your company, product, service. So what are your main channels? Well, I'm going to guess they're things like pay-per-click, maybe trade shows, events, maybe content. Those are all pretty predictable, right? Let me ask you this question. Are you treating social media as a main channel? By the way, only 1.8% of you today measure social media and can prove an ROI in that investment. HubSpot and Gartner say social media is the #1 channel to invest in this year. Are you doing it? If not, I can tell you why. You're not doing it because you don't have the tools, you don't have the mentality, and that's okay. we've got you covered. You change the mentality, we'll give you the tool. Agorapulse tracks all the ROI for you. One place to manage all your social media activity, your number one channel. Change your success. Treat social media as a channel, one CMO to another. My name is Daryl. I'm with Agorapulse. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, that's a great segue because the rest of this episode, we're going to be talking about driving dollars, driving actual revenue, right? So when it comes to partners, let's talk co-selling. And so for context, how has that worked with your businesses and your partners in the past?
Yeah. I mean, biggest driver on my previous company. We basically, every big deal that we ever closed was a co-sell. We systematically brought partners in, or were brought in by partners into every major deal. It was just huge for us. So it's a small company, 50 employees at the time, and with close relationships with, like I said, Salesforce and all of their competitors as well. And if these guys brought you into deals, I mean, we don't need to talk about the impact of co-selling, because I think all partnership people are aware of that. But it's just mind blowing to me. Twice close rates, twice as big, deal sizes almost twice as big as our regular deals. So it's just mind blowing, and that was the reason why we leaned into partnerships so heavily. And the interesting thing was, I mean, so we just like in the clip we just talked about, measuring ROI, etc. What's interesting to me was the more I kind of started to analyze, and a lot of that stuff was very manual, but the more I started to analyze kind of what partner deals, how partner deals are different from regular deals, the more like realized the impact. Right? It wasn't just deal velocity, deal size, close rates, but it was also stuff like churn was a lot lower, right? Like lots of downstream effects even after you won the deal. So that was just, it still is mind blowing, kind of how powerful this stuff can be.
Yeah, no, that's crazy because in full transparency, that's something that we aren't really doing today at Agorapulse. And it's one of the reasons why I ask the questions and have people like you on the show, because that's an area we're trying to explore, that I'm trying to build up from scratch, that ecosystem where we can do co-selling with partners.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. It's just, to me, I always knew there was a lot of there are a lot of benefits to it, but the more I started to kind of figure out, like any KPI that I looked at, I was like, oh wow, partners have an impact on that stuff. It was really interesting, and I mean, it's obviously what we see in the companies we work with.
Awesome. So now how can automation and AI, here's that word again, right, can actually be used to help and grow and scale this kind of partner-driven revenue?
Yeah, I think it's just, like we talked about this in the beginning, partner teams are overwhelmed. So automation and I think, like from my point of view, I think I don't think you can fully automate these interactions and some bot can take over. I think that's not how this works. It's a relationship-driven business. But I think what automation and I can do is help you with two things. First, kind of help you prioritize, basically tell you what you should be doing, right? The stuff that you normally overlook, right? Like, hey, this person hasn't interacted with us in a while. They used to be an important partner. This person is new. We need to like enable them. There's a co-selling opportunity with this person. Let's keep them they sourced a deal. Let's keep them posted on where we stand with that deal. So it's really like a tool can help you do that, right? Can tell you who you need to interact with versus you looking at some report or probably just doing this based on your kind of own perception. Step one. Step two is it can help you to kind of take action, right? And basically tell you, hey, this is okay. You need to engage this person because we just had an overlap and crossbeam or reveal, and it can provide you an email, the email that you should send. And this is where AI comes in. AI can draft a joint value proposition for you. At least that's what we do, right? That's one of the functionalities we offer. So you don't just, send a standard email to somebody like, hey, so you have this customer, can you introduce us? What we can do is like, so you have this customer, here is why we should work on this together, which obviously drives performance because it basically it signals to the other person. It helps them understand the value, and it signals that you really care about this. And I should assist you in this. I'm not saying AI is going to do everything. but it can pre-draft that messaging so that you as a partner manager just need to kind of give it a final touch and just send that stuff out and kind of initiate the process.
Love it. So a couple things. You mentioned Crossbeam and Reveal. For those who aren't sure, these are tools that allow you to connect your CRM and compare them to your partners' CRMs and see where you have overlap in terms of customers, overlap in terms of opportunities. We did an entire episode with Jared Fuller from Reveal all about that. I'll link to that in the show notes. Yeah, Jared's fantastic. I love Reveal, and I use Crossbeam too. Not everybody uses both. But I'd like to dig into this a little bit more because it used to be I could have a CRM and I could simply say, hey, you know what? I want a reminder in 30 days to follow up with my contacts. And so it's very manual, right? I'm telling the CRM when I want a reminder, and then it's just going to send me that reminder as a pop-up or an email, whatever, without any kind of context. It's just based on a simple date. How is that different from what you're doing today? How is the AI actually helping?
So these reminders, very often you need to set them up yourself, right? Like you set them up yourself, and it's just like a task. It doesn't even pop up. It's somewhere in Salesforce, and you kind of ignore. At least me, my Salesforce. I think I'm like 2,000 tasks. I've like 0 inbox, but like 2,000. So you have like all of these tasks somewhere in Salesforce, and you kind of ignore them. There's no context, and you see the task, and then you need to like okay, you gotta read through the previous conversations, etc., that you had with that person. Okay, remember, and then you go into Gmail and you draft an email, or maybe you even have a tool where you have templates. So the difference is, in our case, we alert you proactively in Slack, and we link it, right? We provide you the relevant information. Right? Like, hey, this is what you need to do. Here's the information about this partner that you need, who they are, what type of interaction should happen, etc., etc. And we provide you the email, and you just like literally click approve like in Slack. Right? You don't even leave Slack. So it's, on one hand, you might be like, it's not that much different, but the reality is what I just described. Like if you do it with again, like Superglue, you can kind of take a couple of other tools and connect them and try to build or build something similar. In that case, it takes you like 3 clicks, and just you're ready and done. If I work with the task and I create the task, etc. And by the way, every partner manager creates their own task, so everybody has a different approach. It's inconsistent. That just it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or probably I'm not going to do it. At least if you deal with tasks like me, right? I keep the 2,000 tasks, and every 3 weeks I go through them and just like move them forward. Because it's just I don't have the time. Like that's the thing. Like I don't have the time for all of these standard interactions. I'm like, this is a junior AE in a partner organization. I don't have the time to interact with them. I'm too busy. But the truth is, like, that junior AE might come across a big opportunity next week, and if you stay in touch with them, they're going to think about you. They might bring you in. So automation helps you kind of really expand your reach and engage 10 times as many people in a meaningful manner. That's the important thing. You don't want to bombard these people with trash.
I'm laughing because Slack integrated this new feature called Later. And it's basically a bucket for any messages that you said, I want to get back to this later. And you set it up a specific time, right? And now I've got, like you said, I've got this bucket of messages that I keep punting to the next week and the next week and the next week. And I'm like, okay, this is not helping me. This is just adding to my to-do list and my anxiety. But earlier you talked about how when you get a notification via Superglue that there's something you need to do, like send an email, it can help you create that email. So is this generative AI that we're talking about now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You have the option. You can work with templates, which makes sense in lots of cases, right? If I have a standard onboarding flow, I'm like, this is how you connect to, do this and that. It's just, I don't need Gen AI. But then there are other use cases where Gen AI is awesome, where you can basically you can even combine the two in Superglue. You can have like prompts as part of messages where you're like, hey, we have all this information about these partners, right? Not in Salesforce, obviously we have their job title, we obviously have the company, but we have stuff like last interactions, we have overlaps with the Crossbeam, and we can use that and really draft something that is mind-blowing if you do it right. My problem with Gen AI and ChatGPT, etc., is I use it every day, but I use it manually. Right? Like I go in, like I have a blog post and I let it kind of review that stuff. Or obviously, since I don't speak proper English, I need to review my LinkedIn posts. Like I like ChatGPT is really powerful and makes me probably like 5% more productive. But because I always do this stuff manually, I go in the interface and I prompt the tool. It's like I don't leverage at scale. So what our idea was like, why don't we bring the prompts into the automations, right? Like, and basically every time, right, like I'm as a partner alerted, I need to do something, and I need to engage with somebody. Gen AI uses the data points we have for that person and create something that is more meaningful than just a standard template.
Love it. That's fantastic. And this is such a great example that I'm reading every single day of ways that AI is being melded just purely in the marketing industry. Because I don't have time to look at other industries, but just in the marketing industry alone, we have so much that's being woven and built and created using AI that, like you said, is helping us save at least 5-10%, sometimes even more amounts of our day. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is with these tools. So everybody's integrating these tools right now, and I think as a user, user of these tools, it's really important to look into kind of what companies are doing with these tools. Everybody, like even a lot of like everybody, it's just like a stamp of approval, right? Like, oh yeah, AI. And I think there are companies that do a really good job where that truly makes their product more powerful. And then there are other companies that just integrate it. It's just kind of a fun little feature that you're going to use once a month. I have to admit, we were very, very fortunate that kind of the way we built the platform was like perfectly suited for AI. We had a couple of like ideas, when we started building Superglue, but we were also fortunate that just everything kind of fit nicely. So I think it's very important to AI isn't everything. There are lots of mediocre kind of use cases and applications of AI where it's like, yeah, this is AI assisted, but it doesn't really add more value. The AI doesn't really change the game for you.
Totally agree. So my last question, Rob, this is my favorite question. I love asking everybody. How have relationships helped you throughout your professional career?
Relationships are everything. I mean, I personally, I think, everybody that invested in me, in like companies I built at Superglue, that is all relationship driven. Like, people knew me, people knew somebody that I knew. Our initial customers at Superglue, our beta customers, the people truly believed in what we did from day one. It was very relationship driven because there wasn't much we could offer, right? Except like a vision. So, and even now, like, the vast majority of leads we get are relationship driven by partners, by people that like us, like what we do, that have heard of us, etc. So I think relationships are essential to everything you do in business. That can't be stressed enough. I think whatever I do, right, not just in partnerships, I always tell, when I talk to people that are starting out their career, I'm like, hey, you need to find a mentor. You need to like start building relationships with people that are a step ahead of you, etc. Like that stuff is so important. And I think all of us could do more. Could build more relationships, be better at managing our networks. At least I could, to be quite frank. But it's helped a lot.
Yeah, I love it. And I love how every time I ask that question, everyone always says relationships are everything, or some variation of that. And they go on to tell me why without even being prompted. I love it. And you even threw some tips in there, like grab a mentor. Amazing. Thank you so much, Rob. This has been a fantastic interview. There's been so much interested there. I know folks are going to want to run and try out Superglue, but for every other question that they've got, if they want to, reach out to you personally, how can they get a hold of you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great. Or they can just send me an email, rob.reports@superglue.io.
Fantastic. And like I said, we'll have the links to Rob and Superglue and all the other past shows that we mentioned in that conversation in the show notes. And that's all we've got for today, friends. But we'll be back, and make sure you're following us on Apple Podcasts, and please leave us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Partnership Unpacked, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player. Be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us. And if you want to be part of our audience during live broadcasts, take a look at our calendar at agorapulse.com/